Hi everyone. So I just recently finished watching Ryan Murphy's newest series, Monsters, a Lyle and Eric Menendez story. And there's a lot to unpack from the show. I want to get into how I believe the brothers were incorrectly portrayed, and yeah, I get it's supposed to be a drama, but it doesn't make it right to slander their character. Also, I just want to mention that I might be wrong on some things, so don't come after me. I just wanted to put my thoughts on the show out there. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking it down into 8 parts. So with that, let's get into the video.
Police in Beverly Hills, California are investigating the shooting deaths of an entertainment company executive and his wife. The bodies of Jose and Kitty Menendez were found at their home late Sunday night.
It's August 21st, 1989. We're at 722 North Elm Drive. A reported double homicide. Present at the scene are Detectives Zoller, myself, and Lenahan.
Lyle and Eric Menendez, the two brothers whose names are tied to one of the most well-known crimes in America, the murder of their parents, Jose and Kitty Menendez. In the show, the brothers are shown as being greedy and driven mostly by money. Yes, after the murders, Lyle and Eric did spend some money, and the show uses that to paint them as selfish and uncaring.
Okay, great. I want 24 shrimp cocktails, tails off, and I want a case, not a bottle, a case of Perrier. Do you have Perrier?
But that version of the story leaves out something really important. Lyle and Eric weren't just about getting rich. They were two young men who had gone through a lot of emotional and psychological damage. Their parents' murders weren't just about the money. They were trying to escape a painful and scary situation at home.
Did your father ever have sexual contact with you?
Yes.
It's easy to judge from the outside, but it's important to understand that trauma can make people act in ways that don't always make sense. Lyle and Eric weren't just two guys who woke up one day and decided to kill their parents. They had been through years of physical, emotional, and even sexual abuse. That kind of trauma doesn't just go away.
So, you know what I think when you complain that I hit you? I think that I didn't hit you hard enough, Lyle.
The show makes it look like the murders were planned, but in reality, they were the result of years of abuse and fear.
I had to get the best grades.
You think you're getting into an Ivy League school with this kind of shit? This essay is absolutely childish and pathetic. It's fucking unbelievable. I write the next one.
Now, one of the biggest things the brothers said in court was that their father, Jose Menendez, had abused them for years.
Your father have sexual contact with you?
Yes.
The Netflix show talks about this, but doesn't really dive into how serious this abuse was. For Lyle and Eric, the fear and pain from their father's abuse wasn't just something they could escape. Their father had a huge amount of power over them, and they felt like the only way out was to do something extreme.
Of you and your brother ultimately winding up shooting your parents?
Me telling.
You telling what?
Me telling Lyle that,
You telling Lyle what? Was it you telling Lyle about something that was happening?
My dad had been molesting me.
Lyle and Eric aren't just simple people. They're complicated men who went through things that most of us can't even imagine. They did commit a terrible crime, but they were scared, broken young men who didn't see a way out of the abusive situation their father had created. The Netflix show reduces them to criminals. But the truth is, there's so much more to the story. The media played a huge role in shaping the public's view of Lyle and Eric.
Do you think the media has portrayed you fairly? Can you tell?
I don't know if anyone can be portrayed fairly in the media, who they are.
Well, let me say it. There are people, a great number of people, who think that you two are spoiled brats, that you are evil, that you are monsters. What do you say to them?
That's not who I am.
During the trial, they were painted as spoiled rich kids who only cared about their parents' money. But what we don't see are the real moments in court where the brothers showed raw emotion. They cried, broke down, and showed the pain they were carrying inside. The show makes them look like cold and calculating killers. But the truth is, they were two scared boys who had been traumatized by years of abuse. The Netflix series missed a lot of chances to show the true human side of Lyle and Eric Menendez. Instead, the show went for the more dramatic, sensational versions of the events. There were real moments where the brothers showed regret, fear, and confusion, but the series skipped over those, making them look more like heartless criminals for cash. Similar to Dahmer, which only came out about 2 years ago, which I'm also planning on making a video for down the line, they focused on Jeffrey Dahmer's perspective more than the family and communities traumatized by his actions. Something I also want to discuss while Dahmer's being mentioned is calling him a monster is very justifiable, but to call the Menendez brothers monsters seems way too harsh. In reality, the Menendez brothers' story is so much more complicated, and there's a lot of sadness and tragedy behind what they did. Okay, to understand the full story, let's compare this case to another one that's pretty similar. Gypsy Rose Blanchard.
Former boyfriend, Nick Godejohn, is serving a life sentence. Is it fair that he is incarcerated for life for killing your mom and you're out?
Well, I'm sure that we both have a lot of regrets. All I can really say is that I did my time. He's doing his time for his part. And I wish him well on his journey.
Gypsy's situation was different, but had some similarities. She was abused for years by her mother, who made her pretend she was sick and manipulated her entire life. She got sentenced to 10 years in prison, but here's the thing, she's now freed. So why is Gypsy Rose, who has also been abused and involved in her parents' murder, getting released while Lyle and Eric Menendez are stuck in prison for life?
Earlier, a jury recommended that Lyle and Eric Menendez be sentenced to 2 consecutive life terms for the brutal slaying of their parents, Jose and Kitty Menendez. The jury could have recommended the death penalty, but after 3 days of deliberation, they opted to send the brothers to prison for the rest of their lives with no chance of parole.
The story of the Menendez brothers is a tough one, and it's a lot more complicated than Netflix made it out to be. This isn't just a story about greed or revenge. It's about 2 young men who were broken by years of abuse and felt trapped in the life they couldn't escape. If Gypsy Rose Blanchard, who also committed a crime after years of abuse, can be given a second chance and a way out of prison, why can't we look at Lyle and Eric with the same understanding? The Menendez brothers deserve to be seen as victims of trauma, not just as criminals. Maybe it's time we rethink their story. Now, with all that said and done, I'd say it was a pretty good first YouTube video. But yeah, thank you for sticking around to the end of the video. I really appreciate it, and I expect more videos soon. Thank you and have a good one. See you next time.